Number 10. Made the Thing a villain. Way back when, in his classic villain days where many of Dr. Doom's plots were overly elaborate and therefore somewhat ridiculous, he created a time paradox when he forced the Fantastic Four to go back in time to retrieve Blackbeard's treasure. In so doing, he and the Fantastic Four team in essence created the dread Blackbeard, which it turned out was actually none other than Ben Grimm. In other words, Pirate Blackbeard would have never existed if not for Dr. Doom and the FF. So one, he not only created the legend of a rather cruel and vicious pirate, but he also made one of Marvel's biggest softies take on that role. Poor Ben. Number 9. Doombots. Dr. Doom has committed enough atrocious acts just as himself, it's true. But then you also factor in all the deeds his Doombots have done as well. There have actually been many instances that we've thought Doom himself was responsible for various villainous acts, only to find out that we were fooled by Dr. Doom and that this was actually a Doombot disguised as him. There have also been many instances where we've thought Doom had died as well, only to find out that it was just a Doombot who had perished. Still, although passionate fans will be quick to point out instances in the comics where that Doom was actually a Doombot posing as the real deal, the truth remains that as the creator of Doombots, Dr. Doom is still technically responsible for all of their villainous and in some rare cases, good acts. Very rare that they're good. Number 8. Mind-controlled dragon tattoos. In the Ultimate Universe of Earth 1610, Victor Von Doom's alternate counterpart, Victor Van Dame, ended up using dragon tattoos to mind-control those who joined his micronation known as the Free Zone in Denmark. In reality, those who joined the rent-free shanty town were not actually as free as they thought. In exchange for free living, those who joined Van Dame's Free Zone were asked to get dragon tattoos. Now, these tattoos allowed Van Dame to control the citizens as the microfibers in the tattoo interfaced with the wearer's brain. Number 7. Tortured the Fantastic Four family, including their son Franklin. And this is when he was just a little kid, by the way. Poor little Franklin. Of course, Franklin Richards is a super powerful mutant in the world of the comics, but when faced with a horde of demons, it became frighteningly clear both how horrified he was and how innocent and vulnerable Franklin still was as a child. This experience left Franklin traumatized even after the Fantastic Four family managed to escape their fate. Dr. Doom sent Franklin to hell while torturing every other member of the Fantastic Four. He forced the Thing to fight endless losing battles, set fire to Sue Richards, trapped Reed in a room filled with magic from which he could not escape, and gave the Human Torch Mr. Fantastic's powers, and then proceeded to use those stretching powers to tie him into a knotted monstrosity. Number 6. His relationship with Scarlet Witch. This was just a weird and convoluted story in general, but basically Dr. Doom managed to wipe Wanda Maximoff's memories and then she fell in love with him and they were to be married. She didn't know who she was until Wiccan showed up and reminded her of her origin story and her family. Eventually Wanda put 2 and 2 together and figured out that Doom was manipulating her due to the fact that he seemed so concerned with her actually believing Wiccan's story. What's up with that, Doom? Doom also claimed to be doing everything out of concern for protecting the world from Scarlet Witch's unpredictable and unstoppable reality warping powers, and for his real and true love of Wanda. He really loved her, so he claimed. However, he later revealed himself to be a man obsessed with only power when Wanda transferred her reality warping power of the life force to him, and he went all crazy. He also claimed to be responsible for the death of the Avengers and mass extinction of the mutants. He was like, that wasn't Wanda, that was me. Wait, what? Number 5. Sacrificed his first love for sweet, sweet armor. Dr. Doom's inspiration for the name he gave his goddaughter Sue and Reed Richards' little baby girl Valeria came from his first love, a love that later returned to his life and who he learned was the only woman he had ever really loved. So he claimed. When she did return, however, it was revealed that Dr. Doom had ulterior motives for his oldest and truest love. He didn't want to be with her, not in a traditional sense anyways. He wanted to sacrifice her life and her soul in order to earn himself some powerful mystical armor. Readers watched as Valeria's skin burned away and her flesh was remade into Doom's shiny new armor. Number 4. Battleworld. Following the incursions, Dr. Doom was turned into God Emperor Doom when worlds collided and were destroyed, prompting Doom to use newly acquired reality warping powers and sort of reality mending powers to create his own universe. This universe would become known as Doom's Battleworld, a patched together combination of the broken Marvel realities. Doom himself became a god to all the heroes and citizens who lived there. He had his own army of Thors at his disposal, making Doctor Strange his deputy deputy and turning Sue Storm into his consort. When Reed Richards finally managed to return and find Doom, he made Doom confess that Richards would have actually built a better world, and after fighting, Doom relinquished the power he'd used to Reed, who set out to actually remake the Marvelverse and most of its alternate realities once more, with only a few tweaks for improvements here and there. Number 3. Droit de Seigneur. While some may praise Dr. Doom for being a great ruler who brought prosperity to Latveria, we also need to acknowledge that he also snatches many of his people's rights and freedoms away in being their governing monarch and ruler. This was showcased when Dr. Doom exercised his right of droit de seigneur, marching into one of his faithful peasant Klaus's home on his wedding night, and insisting that he be allowed to sleep with his bride Gretchen. While Klaus seems awkwardly accommodating, Gretchen appears downright shocked, upset, and possibly pissed off, and rightfully so. Also, yeah, Dr. Doom's Latveria still has a peasant class, so it isn't always depicted as being that great, because if it was, why do you have peasants? What's up with that? Number 2. Dictatorship Dependency. This is what Dr. Doom has created for Latveria, the nation he rules. While Latveria is considered a peaceful place with virtually no crime, nor problems of poverty or hunger harming its citizens, who do genuinely seem to worship and love their ruler, Victor Von Doom, it's also a place that has become so dependent on his leadership that anytime he leaves, it basically breaks. Meaning that if there ever comes a time when Doom must leave permanently or finally dies for good, Latveria's economy will collapse and the nation will quickly devolve into chaos and ruin. We've seen what has happened to Latveria before in the comics when Doom has ceased being its ruler, and it's truly never good for the nation. Number 1. Got bored of ruling the world. Remember that time Victor Von Doom took control of the Purple Man, aka Zebediah Killgrave, by trapping him in a psychoprism and used his focused powers by putting them in a gem, which he used to control the world? Now, you might think that sounds like the worst part of the story, Doom ruling the world, but in a strange twist, it actually wasn't. Using mind control, of course, is not really a heroic act, but in doing so, Dr. Doom was able to create peace on Earth. All wars ceased, no one went hungry, the global economy prospered under his rule. However, with no one to challenge him, Doom became bored. So he abandoned ruling the world just as the heroes rushed in to stop him, freeing the world, but in doing so also returning it to a state of disorder and chaos, which may have been the real crime in this story. Just Doom being like, I don't want to rule anymore, and we're all like, but wait, you were actually good at it. You had to use mind control, but still. Number 10. Morgan Le Fay. Oddly enough, these two in a way seem almost perfectly suited for one another. Of course, this only means that their relationship is made even more weird. Doom and Morgan Le Fay became lovers over time, forming a relationship during a time when Morgan Le Fay was training and teaching Doom in the arts of magic. Doom enjoyed their lessons, and I assume also enjoyed spending time with Morgan, but when she asked him for a gift from the future to prove his loyalty and his love, Doom refused, giving Morgan the excuse that doing so would, disrupt the timeline. Morgan didn't like this very much and set out traveling through time to the future in order to destroy Doom. Initially, she planned to kill Doom when he was young and vulnerable, but was not satisfied with the fact that Doom would kinda then not know the reason behind her wrath. In the end, her confrontation of Doom resulted in a battle with Norman Osborn's Dark Avengers, and while Morgan very much messed up that team, she was ultimately defeated by Doom during the fray. Not the most healthy of relationships. And strange that that's the least weird one. Just keep that in mind. That's number 10. That's the starting point. Number 9. Enchantress. I mean, it makes sense for Doom to be with magical ladies, but it's also pretty weird when you consider that Doom before has gone out of his way in the past to show how little he cares for Enchantress, and how little he feels any attraction to her, despite her being considered as one of the most beautiful beings in the world, the epitome of femininity. But you know Doom, he likes what he likes. And even then, he probably won't treat who he likes great, and is likely just using them for some other gains. Still, Doom and Enchantress ended up getting married on the alternate Earth 9811, where everyone remained stranded on Battleworld, and even had a son together there. However, not even them having a son together or being wed could save Enchantress, as Doom still murdered her, and evaded his son's attempt to kill him using magic he had learned from his dead wife. Wow, that is all kinds of messed up. And before we move move on to this next point, just a quick reminder to give this video a thumbs up if you are enjoying it, and if you just want even more weird romance in your life. Who doesn't want more weird romance in their life, am I right? Number 8. Sue Storm. This one isn't that weird once we delve into what really prompts Doom to seek a relationship with women, but it is weird because of basically all of those reasons. Meaning, it might not seem weird to Victor that he has a certain attraction to Sue, but it's definitely weird in general. Some have speculated that Doom simply wants to offer Sue Storm more, like Reed's other rival for Sue's affections, Namor the Submariner. But it's more likely that Doom only wants Sue because of the power that she represents, and because he knows how much it would destroy Reed Richards. Still, overall, Doom has a pretty weird relationship and complex feelings, it seems, at times for both the Invisible Woman and the rest of the Fantastic Four family besides. Let's also just talk about how awkward it was when God Emperor Doom made Susan his wife when he created a new world out of the tattered pieces of the multiverse following the incursions, cause there's always that to go back to. And he also made her 2 kids his kids, even though they definitely still looked just like her kids with Reed. What's happening there? Storm. How bad is it that Storm isn't even one of the weirdest entries on this list? And her relationship, or date at least, with Doom was pretty weird. Date, kidnapping, it's kind of both. It all went down after Storm was kidnapped by Doom and held prisoner, but treated as a guest. He wined and dined Storm, and she was even beginning to think she might be attracted to him. But then he made a terrible move and he messed it all up by encasing her in chrome. Don't do that on a date, that's a bad move. This set off Storm's intense claustrophobia, which she had ever since she was little and found herself trapped under wreckage. Storm reacts by creating a massive storm, one that's implied has the potential, or already has, overtaken the entire planet, putting her on a level of power that is compared to the Phoenix. Doom might think he's a brilliant charmer who can do as he pleases, but he should probably think twice before he messes with Storm. Number 6. Storm. Again! I know, you're like, wait, didn't we just talk about this? But no, this is different. This one happened in an alternate reality in the Marvel book X-Men/Doctor Doom and the Chaos Engine trilogy, or sometimes referred to as the Cosmic Cube trilogy, on the alternate Earth of 892. Doctor Doom here makes Storm his wife and his co-ruler. She becomes the Empress, whether or not she wants that. They have 2 children together, and we also learn of how intensely creepily protective Doom is of his bride when a guard accidentally witnesses Storm changing, and as punishment, Doom has his eyes gouged out. The strangest thing about this one for me is the first book in the Chaos Engine series came out in 2000, whereas Storm was encased in chrome during her weird kidnapping date thing with Doom in 1981 in issue 145 of X-Men, implying to me that Stephen A. Roman, who wrote the Chaos Engine trilogy, may have actually been inspired by that strange dinner date to have Doom forcefully marry Storm in this book. Number 5. Scarlet Witch. This was a weird romance that involved Scarlet Witch kind of forgetting who she really was in order to fall for Victor. The 2 fell in love fast, though under false pretenses. And although at first we thought Doctor Doom was just trying to manipulate Wanda, he later insisted this was not the case and that he really loved her. And just as we thought maybe, hey, maybe this could actually work out in some weird way, Doom then lashed out, seemingly implying he never loved Wanda, and in fact, he thought she was weak and he had been using and manipulating her the whole time. Although it's more likely that Doom was actually just lashing out because he felt some shame, maybe he had a broken heart. He mistreated Wanda harshly, even when she still tried to help him despite his betrayal, and insisting that she was weak and that he had only been using her weakness against her to get her power. Needless to say, that was pretty much the end of their relationship. That great revelation, and the bizarre revelation where Doom claimed that apparently every bad thing Wanda has ever done was actually not of her own doing, but was caused by Doom himself. Wait, what? Number 4. Shalabal. Okay, I couldn't put this one in the top spot because it wasn't real. Just one of Doom's many ploys to trick others into helping him in a plot to destroy his arch nemesis, the team known as the Fantastic Four. Here, Dr. Doom pretended to marry Shalabal and pretended that he had wiped her memories of the Silver Surfer, when the Surfer ultimately found out after crash landing in Latveria and seeing posters celebrating the reign of their new queen, Doom's new bride, who in reality was not the real Shalabal, but an imposter created to resemble Silver Surfer's aka Norrinrad's long lost love. There are so many questions I have in regards to how Dr. Doom was able to pull this plan off, but hey, it's a comic, and it's Dr. Doom, so I'm just willing to let any queries go unanswered here and just accept that this worked. Even with this not being the real deal, Shalabal, the fact that Dr. Doom created this whole ploy and relationship just to destroy the Fantastic Four is pretty bizarre and intense, and it's also part of the reason why I think so many of us fans love him. Number 3. AMARA PERERA. AMARA PERERA was a brilliant doctor who ended up discovering a cure for the mutant gene, but one that she dared not produce, knowing what kind of unrest and political and sociological warfare it would likely create. She dated Tony Stark briefly before he faked his own death. When he returned, she was no longer interested, feeling he had betrayed her by letting her think he was dead when he was not, which I mean, fair enough. She then ended up becoming a reluctant ally, confidant, friend, and implied lover to Dr. Doom during the events of the infamous Iron Man series, where Victor Von Doom took up the mantle of Iron Man during Tony's absence. At the end of that series, it was revealed that AMARA was pregnant, although it was later briefly mentioned by Dr. Doom that their unborn child did not make it to term and thus was never born. I love when other writers do that. They just come in and they're like, this never happened, it's fine. Don't worry about it. While this relationship actually felt pretty authentic, it was definitely still odd and random, but it also happened at a pretty strange and unique time in Victor's life, so yeah, I guess okay. Number 2. Sandy Bidwell. Who is Sandy Bidwell? Well, she is a woman that Doom very well severely messed up when he was in college. Doom tells us about what happened with Sandy, although he himself doesn't recall her name, in Ed Brubaker's Books of Doom. He remembers being inebriated and an attractive woman coming on to him as he bragged about LATVERIA and his promising future while on campus. She kissed him, pushing him up against a tree, but when he looked into her eyes, he didn't like the emptiness that he saw in them, which ignited something in him, a fury and anger, and he started to strangle her, attacking Sandy. We later find out that she tried to report Victor, but his military connections handled it, working with the school administration and the government to cover it up, hide it, and force Sandy out of school, paying off her family. Of course, Victor didn't know any of this, but still, what was that? It was terrible. Number 1. Valeria. This was a pretty sweet romance initially. Valeria was Doom's first love, and they both really did love one another. But in the end, Doom's ambition got in the way of their romance. Years later, Doom actually tracked Valeria down, confessing how much he still loved her and how much she meant to him, before we realized what he was really doing. Valeria meant so much to him that she made a fitting price for what Doom really wanted: some sweet, sweet enchanted armor. Comic readers watched on in horror as Valeria was transformed into Doom's armor, her skin peeling away, her soul doomed, but at least she'd always be by his side. Jeez, remind me to never fall in love with Dr. Doom.
Number 10. Counter-Earth Doom. First up, we see an alternate version of Doom being born, the Counter-Earth Doom, created by the High Evolutionary orbiting the sun on the opposite side of our regular Earth. Victor attends school with Reed Richards. The experiment still went south, it still blew up in his face, only he didn't hate Reed after this. He didn't put the blame on him, rather, Reed convinced him to be a good guy and not a villain. Score. What? So in Warlock issue 5, Doom successfully stops a bomb during a test and the public loved him. And then in Warlock issue 6, Doom partnered up with Adam Warlock himself. What a super duo. And then finally in issue 7, we see this Victor meet his demise, taking on the Brazen Brute, who in that reality was actually Reed Richards. Doom ended up using an absorber device to suck up the Brute's energy, causing it to explode. And believe it or not, Doom died a hero in this tale. See, not all alternates in here are bad. Some, dare I say, are kind of cute, but we'll get to that guy later. But before we get onto those other weird versions of Dr. Doom, if you want to go ahead and make sure you're subscribed to this channel, or even the like button works too, both helps us out tremendously. You nerds rock. Now let's get back to this list. Number 9. Zombie Doom. Coming from the Marvel Zombies Army of Darkness universe, we get a version of Victor that starts out honestly a pretty decent guy. Again, he originally wanted to keep others safe using his castle as a shelter from the zombie apocalypse. He wants a certain handful of heroes to stay in the castle, so after the zombie plague ends, he can then use them to repopulate the earth. He only let a specific amount of people in, so it was nice, but it's like, could be better. He's a villain, so you can't expect much. Now, if there's anything that we know in 2021, it's that no matter where you go, the plague shall follow. The castle had a breach, the virus got in, and Doom got infected. Now, normally this sounds like things are going to get so much worse, but Doom transported the survivors to an alternate universe right before their gross fate. Not all these alternates are bad. I mean, most of them are bad, most of them for sure, but not all of them. Like I said, some are kind of cute. Number 8, Dr. Doom. I wasn't lying when I said cute, here we go. Coming from the strange Earth 8311, as you probably could have guessed, this world sees our finest superheroes and supervillains as animals. He first showed up in Peter Porker the Spectacular Spider-Ham storyline back in 1985. The issue starts off with the Avengers saving the day. We meet these weird versions of them page by page. It's super fun, but perhaps the most intriguing change, despite the, animal stuff, is that Dr. Doom is a pop star in this reality, which takes so much skill on top of the whole villain thing. He's a pop star. So many hours of rehearsing. Imagine getting floor seats to Dr. Doom. What a ride. What a treat. Number 7, Count Otto von Doom. Taking a step back now to the 1602 storyline, Count Otto von Doom, a friend of Sir Richard Reed, there we go. He was still the ruler of Latveria, only his father was involved in studying these shady ways of breeding. So he had these humanoid creatures serve him. Always nice to have a helping hand, I guess, even if it's like that. So when the Four from the Fantastic, great alternate name, came along, he of course captured and imprisoned them. So while Reed was in prison, Doom would casually strike up a conversation and try to pick Reed's brain. He was desperate to learn more about explosives, poisons, machines, you name it, anything to gain power. Count Otto was as evil as they get, even back in the day. Now, he sent assassins to England to take out Sir Nicholas Fury, Virginia Dare, and Queen Elizabeth I. The Queen! Doom's men tracked down Natalia Romanova, and Doom even paid her off for the Templar's secret treasure, which was a strange golden sphere. Like Assassin's Creed style as part of the comic. But when Doom raised the sphere to the sky in true villain form, it was struck by lightning, and Doom thought this was how he got his powers. But in this reality, it's just how he got his scars. So when he heard about the Four who are frightful, again, an amazing name, finding a lost mystical city, he figured this might be a way to heal the face. So he got a group to lead this journey, even hiring William Shakespeare to document the whole trip, vlog style. What a show off. Number 6, Earth X. This storyline I think humans are well on their way towards. So after the Earth started to experience a food supply shortage, the UN decides, you know what, let's just rummage the sea and get our food from there, whatever, since land has nothing else to offer. Now, Namor wasn't too thrilled about this being an Atlantean and all, so he asked Doom to go to war with the humans, even promising that Doom can straight up rule a planet if they win. Sorry, when they win. Hopeful. So Doom's soul ended up in the realm of the dead after that, but that's home for Doom. That's certainly not the end, not by a long shot. Doom then ended up assisting Marvel in a fight against death, resulting in him acting as a defender of paradise. He literally turned into like this angel form. What a look. Number 5. Ultimate Dr. Doom. Earth 1610, home of the Ultimates, we find Victor Van Dame make his first appearance at Ultimate Fantastic Four, issue 2. Later on, he worked alongside Reed Richards to develop a teleporter to the end zone, but without anybody else knowing, Victor changed the coordinates, and that's what resulted in the creation of the Fantastic Four's powers. Thing was, Van Dame was also caught up in this accident, turning his skin into this metallic flesh. He had these clawed hands, and his legs resembled that of a demonic goat with hooved legs. It was a thing. He ended up becoming the leader of the Keep, which was a small nation, but he made every citizen get a snake tattoo so he could then use that to control their minds. Not bad. 10 points to Slytherin. Number 4, Lord Doom. This sounds great already. Coming from the Old Man Logan storyline, issue 71, volume 3 of Wolverine, we get to meet one of my favorite versions of Doom. Lord Doom has a pretty large chunk of land, bigger than we knew before. It was appropriately named Doom's Lair. I mean, it's a bit bigger, it's a bit of an upgrade. Doom teamed up with the other supervillains in the storyline and they all won. Most of our heroes were dead in this timeline. I don't know what it is, I love seeing villains win. The end of Infinity War, I was like, yes, do it. No one comes back, that's it. We don't see much of him, but knowing that he's part of the evil that's not only survived but still rules, it's quite intimidating. Number 3. All-Father Doom. After waking up in the future in 2099, Doom traveled to Latveria only to find a new ruler who took his spot, the cyborg Tiger Wilde. During all that time, somebody had to step up, but Doom wasn't having it. Being the fierce leader he is, he demanded that Wilde steps down from the throne, even though Wilde saved Latveria from its own demise. A fight naturally broke out, but Tiger Wilde's advanced tech allowed him to remain on top. To add to Doom's horrible day, Tiger took off Doom's mask and noticed that there weren't any scars, despite of what history has taught him. So he took it upon himself to scar Victor by burning him himself. Terrible. So afterwards, Tiger ordered Fortune to kick him out. Only Fortune, she saw Doom as her only chance to overthrow Wild. So she took him back to her Romani clan Zafiro, and they found a doctor in the Pixel Corporation on the Isla Lobos de Aferia. The Dr. Celia Quinones enhanced Doom with nanotechnology. That plus stolen pixel tech allowed for Doom to be a little more mighty on his next trip to LATVERIA to retake his throne. Number 2. Dictator Doom. In the House of M storyline, placed in the alternate reality of Earth 58163, beginning in 2005, in this story we see Doom take on a new approach with Magneto. See, during the Mutant-Human War, Doom stood next to him and he fought beside him. At this point, Doom knew that mutants were going to come out on top, so if you can't beat them, join them. They are supervillains, so it's not like they got along or anything. They still didn't trust one another, but they respected each other's powers and goals. So after the mutants did win, Doom took over New LATVERIA, marrying his love, Valeria. So Doom studied the bodies of Reed Richards, John Jameson, Ben Grimm, and Susan Storm. He studied their cosmic rays and then soon figured out how to advance himself and others. So Valeria, his love, became the new Invincible Woman, and their adopted son Kristoff became the Inhuman Torch. With the addition of a monstrous Ben Grimm to serve, they became the Fearsome Four. And finally, number 1, God Emperor Doom. Even that name alone, this version for sure takes the cake. After being empowered by the Beyonders, Doom became the ruler of Battleworld, and for years and years he toyed with the minds of our remaining heroes until they honestly didn't remember what life before them was even like. It was all a blur at that point. He ruled next to his sheriff, Dr. Strange, and married that world's Susan Storm, now becoming the father of Franklin and Valeria. Johnny Storm was cast out, literally becoming the sun, while the Thing became the wall surrounding Battleworld's edges. Crazy. Doom's science division was the Future Foundation, and his backup was none other than the Thor Corps, a police force made up entirely of Thors from across the multiverse. And yes, that probably includes Throg. When it comes to power, the Secret Wars version of Doom isn't a joke. He took down a Phoenix-powered Cyclops with ease, and he stopped Black Panther, who at the time was wielding the Infinity Gauntlet. After Molecule Man took the godly powers from Doom, the multiverse was restored, but the fear still lives in our head rent-free. Now, with the MCU bringing Marvel's first family to the big screen right after the multiverse run of movies, I feel like we could possibly see this Secret Wars version of Doom sooner than we think. I think the next big movie is going to be Secret Wars. I'm calling it. After Young Avengers, then Secret Wars.
Number 10. Killed himself. Well, more specifically, killed his future alternate self in 2093 AD in Camelot. This scenario comes to us from Iron Man Volume 1, issue 250. Iron Man and Dr. Doom must team up and travel to the future. Once there, they team up with Merlin. By the way, this Merlin has a beard that appears to have the end of it wrapped in an elastic blue rubber band. Why? I don't know. It's the future. I guess we were just 70 years away from that weird fashion trend. During the course of their adventure, Dr. Doom crosses paths with his future self, who is almost full cyborg at this point. Dr. Doom feels shame at his future self, considering him undignified and desperate, living beyond his prime. As a result of this, he kills his future self. Yikes. But also, I guess thanks? Future self was really evil. Number 9. Save the world. So admittedly, he also sort of took it over and made himself a god, but during the 2015 Secret Wars event, Dr. Doom is the only one strong enough to save the existence of the world. Granted, it's kind of messed up, it's not perfect, but at least it still exists. Comprised of Earth 1610 and Earth 616, as well as bits of other realities, it is a mashed together reality split up into different territories. Dr. Doom rules over it as a god, and Doctor Strange even later confesses that he is actually really good at it. Dr. Doom was the only one strong enough to take in the power of the Beyonders and use it to build this reality. However, in the end, it is still Mr. Fantastic that usurps him and resets the multiverse as we know it. Still, you gotta admit, for a last minute job, Dr. Doom did an outstanding job of saving the universe. At least he held it together. I don't know. Number 8. Saved his mom. In the Marvel graphic novel issue 49, we see Dr. Doom team up with Doctor Strange to save his mother. So many Dr. Doom and Doctor Strange team ups. I love it. His mother was trapped in hell many years ago after a deal she made with Mephisto went unsurprisingly sideways. Yet the only way to save her soul would be to make her pure enough to no longer be able to reside in hell. In the issue, it is made to look like Dr. Doom sacrifices Doctor Strange to secure her safety, but it is later revealed that this was actually most most likely a ploy of the brilliant victors. Something he had done simply to make his mother renounce him as a son and hate him, and thereby free her soul by making it as pure as it could be. Don't ask me how that works. Whether or not this is true is not confirmed in the comic, though Doctor Doom was the person who gave Doctor Strange the device which helped him to break free of Mephisto's grasp. So, probably planned. Number 7. Save the survivors of the zombie apocalypse. While Doctor Doom doesn't survive in the Marvel Zombieverse, he certainly helps others to escape it. He is one of the last known survivors, hiding out in his castle Doomstadt in Latveria, where he also houses many non-zombified refugees. Sure, they all happen to be the kind of, attractive ones who are of a breeding age, but still, he's saving people. Unfortunately, the Horde eventually break through to Doomstadt, and Doctor Doom becomes infected. But even while the zombie virus is fighting to take hold of him, he manages to get the survivors out through, well, basically a portal gun, straight out of Rick and Morty. Ash of Evil Dead is also in the castle at the time, and Doctor Doom even resists the urge to devour the wisecracking individual, and also helps him escape. He breaks the teleporter device just as the Horde breaks in, and the thing threatens to clobber him. Pretty selfless stuff, especially when at that point he was almost full zombie. Number 6. Defeats Thanos. During the Secret Wars event of 2015, God Emperor Doom defeats Thanos handily. These few panels that we find in issue 8 of Secret Wars were considered by many to be controversial, but ultimately God Emperor Doom has the power to single-handedly defeat the Mad Titan. The Mad Titan tries to intimidate Doom and loses. The weird thing isn't that Thanos used this tactic, but that he used this tactic on someone so narcissistic and powerful as Doom. Thanos mocks Doom, telling him that when he wielded the powers of a god, the Infinity Gauntlet, he used them better. Doom asks if Thanos now possesses an Infinity Gauntlet, but Thanos concludes he doesn't need one for someone as low and weak as Doom. Ouch. Thanos demands that Doom bow down to him, that Thanos in his ordinary form is enough to defeat Doom and earn his respect. Disagreeing, Doctor Doom kills Thanos. Not with a snap of his fingers, but with one swift, life-disintegrating blow to the chest, turning Thanos into bones. Number 5. Helped deliver Sue Storm's baby. When Sue Storm is ready to give birth to her and Richard's second child, she almost loses the baby. Granted, before she had actually lost it, but that is a story for another time. The baby, which was originally stillborn the first time around, got a hard reset, but Sue is stuck with the same problem that she was last time, namely that her unborn daughter is throwing off waves of radiation that are harmful to Sue and the unborn child itself. Last time, every conceivable brilliant mind was called upon, including even Dr. Octopus, and despite Reed Richards' best efforts, he could not save their child. Now Reed Richards is occupied and unable to be at his wife's side as she goes into labor, and Johnny Storm calls upon the only person that he can think of, Doctor Doom, for some reason. He is brilliant, but I feel like calling upon your arch nemesis is kind of a risky move. Dr. Doom actually agrees to help and manages to use Johnny Storm's external energy. Johnny at this point could not flame off due to his excess energy without the help of technology to save Sue Storm and her baby. This actually also fixes Johnny's problem as well, so now he's able to flame on, flame off again. When Reed Richards made it back to his wife, she was already successfully delivered. Dr. Doom's price was that he would simply get to name the child. He named her Valeria and bestowed her with the full protection of Latveria and his own powers should she ever need it. It's kinda cute. He then leaves, gloating that he did what Richards could not, but still seeming to be a pretty great godfather, all things considered. Like, I want Dr. Doom to be my godfather, jeez. Number 4. Latveria. Speaking of Latveria, it is the nation that Doom rules. Within his nation, he is like a king, but although his rules are somewhat strict and he rules with a literal iron fist, he is actually a pretty decent leader. Sure, he demands your undying devotion to him, and sure, you may not have all the freedoms you would have in another country, but the people of Latveria do seem to truly love Doctor Doom. Even Doctor Strange seems to believe that this is true, and that the show of love that his citizens give him is sincere. Under his rule, Latveria prospers. They have a good economy, healthy citizens, no one seems to go hungry or suffer from undue ailments. It is a relatively peaceful and calm place to live. Sure, he sometimes uses mind control on his citizens, but hey, mind control for a peaceful existence? Seems like a not so awful trade-off. Number 3. Prevents a war. Dr. Von Doom joins up with Winter Soldier and Black Widow in the Winter Soldier 2012 series. What's more amazing is he does so after Bucky breaks into his castle. Doom almost kills him, thinking he's some kind of vile spy, as well as Cap's sidekick who he thought had already died. But before he can amend Bucky's existence, Bucky confesses that they're only there to help Dr. Doom. They share that Dr. Doom is actually being framed, and that one of his Doom bots, programmed to look and behave just like Doom, is being manipulated into attacking the United Nations. Manipulated. This attack would result in a war. Potentially even a world war, who knows? To avoid such events coming to pass, Dr. Doom agrees to help them, and with Bucky and Black Widow they work together to defeat the villainous plot and save the world. Number 2. Made a more peaceful world. In the Marvel graphic novel series from the 80s, in issue 27, we see Dr. Doom becoming Emperor Doom when he conquers the world. He does this by harnessing Purple Man's mind control abilities and magnifying them with the use of a giant psycho prism. When he takes control of the world, he actually proves himself to be a relatively astounding leader. Apart from the mind control, that is. He uses his powers for good, not evil. Sure, he makes himself leader of the world, but he also ends war, works towards eliminating world hunger, and improves the economy. He basically turns the world into a paradise. Unfortunately, this is short-lived, as although Dr. Doom enjoys being Emperor, he soon finds that mind control makes everything kinda safe and boring. You know, too easy. There's no gratification in it, no struggle, which makes it kind of strange that he would later use mind control on his own nation in LATVERIA. So he doesn't like mind control, but he also kinda likes mind control. Number 1. Infamous Iron Man. No, I'm not talking about Tony Stark's Iron Man here, I'm talking about Dr. Doom as Iron Man. He became Infamous Iron Man in his own 12-issue series in 2016 when he adopted Iron Man's mantle, and decided to pursue a life of heroics, operating under the name Infamous Iron Man. That's right. Dr. Doom did for a time want to be a hero and aspired to it. The best thing about him as a hero is he still has the flaws we know and love. He is still prideful to a fault, making him appear rather flippant. But he's also very powerful and shows remorse even in the villainous deeds he has formerly perpetrated. He even manages to defeat a ton of villains as they plot to kill him, saying that he was worse enough as an ally, but as a hero, he would be unstoppable.